There we go.
Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 425 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one shooting podcast in Canada. We're recording on May 6, 2024. That's got to be a typo.
Yes, that definitely is a typo. Which is why we need your help, so that things like that don't happen. To support Canadian Patriot Podcast, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for $1 an episode. You can also show that you're not a communist and buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and mandatory government theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, our homepage, and follow the link on the right.
That takes us to my favorite segment. It's called What Are We Drinking? And also, what have you recently done on the Patriot Challenge? As Liz is not here, we will break with tradition and we will start with Eric, who it was pointed out to me we did not introduce last week as being new to the panel. Eric is new to the panel. Eric, what are you drinking?
Tonight I am drinking Sleeman Original Lager. I'll get into after I was found some Sleeman Cream Ale in the fridge.
Ah,
So that will be the loss. And yeah, that's what I'm
Pride as
drinking
well.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the best kind of beer is free and or cold.
it's true.
Patriot Challenge, I made notes this time to be prepared. 45 minutes of exercise. Yes, carrying 30 pounds of gear around every day up and downstairs. Lifting heavy things, I would classify as exercise. Also, 10 minutes of practicing a skill. I spent all of my 10 minutes is in one day on Saturday. The range, practicing a skill. Reading was reading, again, still in Peterson, and I've been reading the book of First Peter for my reading. 2 liters of water, still not with 2 liters. I'm about 1.5 liters a day. One task to improve my life. I have been
Going on the show, of course. Right?
improving my interrogation skills while questioning interviewing skills with people who know more about the certain tasks to improve my life. Andrew and Dave and Gavin.
Well, there you go.
Right on.
Solid. Well, I guess that leaves me because Andrew goes last. So I'm drinking.
Gavin, what are you drinking?
Drinking the Crown Royal and Pepsi Zero this evening, switching it up a little, but not too much because, a little bit of diversity is fine, but it is not our strength. Patriot Challenge did some stuff, No, I'm getting my reading in. I am on the third book in the we did the original Ender's Game like for book club like way back. So I'm on the third book in the series now. Kind of took a break from those ones and did some other ones and this and that, but started that one the other day. Pretty good. Enjoying it.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then just a bunch of boring work stuff that is not bettering my life, but it puts money in my pocket, which in turn betters my life. So,
Ammo is not cheap, my son.
yeah, nor groceries or literally anything these days. But yeah. Andrew, what are you drinking this evening, sir?
I have this lovely bottle of Lost Meadows Wild Crabapple Dry Sparkling Sizer. It is an 8% Sizer. I was going to say mead, but that's not technically true. Sizer, a mead which has been fermented with apple juices. We have fermented wild crabapple juice with our honey to make a unique expression of this traditional blend. Tasting notes. A dry, sparkling sizer bursting with apple to start, softly fading into notes of honey that dance on your tongue.
Is that accurate, or is that just like a AI generated description?
It's pink and it's fizzy.
I don't seem to recall either of those words in the description.
I would describe it as being a better champagne. It is very dry and it is very bubbly, but it is also made with honey and crabapple juice. So
if someone asks why you're so crabby, that can be your answer.
we could say that. I'm working on hating my government as much as my government hates me.
Oof. That's a lot of hate.
And I'm working on it.
Well, if it's any consolation, where that came from, I don't believe it'd be AI generated because I'm not sure that between them the family could spell the word computer if you spell them the first 8 letters. So they just are not that way. So
It's
But
it's very good.
they make a good champagne.
Champagne,
Well,
yes.
you can only make champagne in the Champagne region of France, but this is very good.
That's why it's a sizer.
That's what. Yes, this is from Egbert, Ontario, and it's quite lovely. I'm going to drink it all. Did I mention it was 8%? Plausible deniability.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go.
The
dry, just as a side note, the dry one is a certain significant other of mine's favorite. Acts very much like said red wine from previous discussions.
Well,
Machine oil.
As it were. Patriot Challenge things. I went for a run after work today. I worked on skills all weekend, which we'll talk about shortly. I am currently between books, although I'm about to start a new book. I have now read all of the Sherlock Holmes novels, and at some point I will reread all of the Sherlock Holmes short stories.
I did acquire a new skill, Gavin.
Yeah.
Pipe smoking.
Excellent.
I was peer pressured into it.
That is entirely an inaccurate description of events.
No, not really.
You were strongly suggested that
you said, "Would you like to try it?" I said, "Okay." I mean, I felt pressured into it.
That's fair.
Eric was merely proffered a pipe while we were sitting about the outdoor fireplace, and I happened to have a spare pipe.
As one does.
As one does.
One does.
So, if you consider that peer pressure, then yes.
Well, you offered it, and
it would be impolite to, yes, I suppose.
Yeah. So, did you enjoy your pipe smoking experience?
Yes. It was a little frustrating at first, as I was told it probably would be. However, yes. I got many compliments on it from on how it looked like it had elevated my intelligence level from a significant other that lives in my house. So I thought, okay,
there you go.
Well,
yeah, as long as the significant other doesn't dislike it, then I would say you keep it up.
Well, I can't buy a motorcycle, so I'll smoke a pipe. I mean,
yeah. There you go. That sounds like a fair trade-off, yeah.
Right.
Conveniently, you can practice smoking it until you get the hang of it. It will take you at least 10 minutes every time.
Yeah.
So Patriot Challenge checked off for several weeks.
Yeah, and there's so many different types of tobaccos and flavors. And some of them can complement a glass of red wine quite nicely.
Wow. A whole new world.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to grapple with the ballistics autism. I can't get into pipe autism yet.
one autistic endeavor at a time.
You smoke the pipe while you are contemplating the ballistics. And then at least you look like you understand it.
True. I was actually going to use it tonight, but I thought I shouldn't smoke it in the house because that would be a no-no.
Yeah, then you might not be in the good graces anymore.
Suddenly becomes a lot less popular. Would you like to read the feedback section for us, Eric?
Sure. I'll have to get my... We would love to hear your feedback on the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of this show is available on iTunes and Stitcher, I believe.
I think Stitcher is done.
Is it? It's still on the website, so but at least on iTunes.
Well, we're at least on iTunes.
Yeah.
Upcoming events. Risoul 4-day march is a week away.
Yeah, if you didn't get enough walking in the previous week.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago. It's time for more walking.
Minimum 10, right?
Minimum 10 to get the award.
Yeah.
I think I might be peer pressured into that too.
Minimum 160 to get the big award.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't think
not
I can get that one in this year, but that is
Yeah,
definitely a
it's-
goal of mine. Maybe
I
next year
really
I'll work.
want to get the 160, but I need a lot of things to line up to make it
Yeah,
happen.
maybe we'll
I'll
try to
tell
plan for that next year.
if I get it before you guys though,
Then we'll give you a round of applause and
Yeah,
I'm going to shame you
ask you for tips. Yeah,
because I'm old.
oh, implying that I have shame. I see. Okay.
yeah.
No, you don't. I know you don't.
Have you seen us wear our short shorts in public?
Yes, I have. I have OG short shorts from rugby from high school days. So
Nice. Well, there you go. You can
You
join the
blend in.
club. Yeah,
just straight up black. So I'll be the commando part of it. But
yeah. That in the pipe, and there you go.
It's a look. It is a look.
uh,
So, on the weekend, Eric and I participated in some shooting contests with the Ontario Rifle Association. Do you care to regale our listenership with your CQC experience this weekend?
my CQC experience this weekend was fun whilst being frustrating. But
Somewhat
Sounds
death
right.
defying.
well, there was a few death-defying moments where, well, the shit talking part at the beginning would be a certain participant in the CQC did not understand that running two lines means running two lines. Andrew went from 25 advance and fire to 15, but he decided to keep going to 10.
Yes.
Yes, which was one of the only times that I've not got yelled at on a drill, which I was quite happy with. However,
I mean, did I really get yelled at though?
no, you just got publicly ridiculed, and everyone enjoyed the fact that you were. You took it like a champ. So we had to restart the drill again, which delayed everything, which was a little annoying. And then there was a strong hand, weak hand drill that all participants participated in. Strong hand, weak hand. Oh wait, I'm going to do it now, but I'll just use both hands. The fun part was we would let him. It was he did the first round before it was politely pointed out with much ridicule by a certain participant that it's only one-handed, Andrew. So all those scores should not have counted. If you did, you cheated. But I will say that all that being said, Andrew, you not only participated in CQC, you actually ran the match at the same time. So kudos to you, my friend.
Like, I mean, much like the government, you just experienced it differently than he did. That's
If it pleases the bench, I would like to explain my side of the story.
I just gave you credit for running the whole thing. So you had a lot on your mind.
I did have a
And the
lot on my
counting
mind.
the two lines is probably a little but kind of put you over the edge. And and spoiler alert, I don't care what color they were.
In my defense, such as it is, in my defense, in the at least 10 years that I've been shooting this sport, we have always done the 10-yard dash as from the next pink line to the next pink line. The line colors, for our listeners that are not familiar, alternate. Every 5-yard line is laid out on the ground, and we use pink and yellow. And we have always gone from pink line to pink line.
You have
And
always
I
also ran only 10 yards, which is two lines.
And I did not do a good job of ensuring that the directions that I had provided to the people laying out the lines were followed adequately. And a certain Chris may or may not have laid them out differently than what we have done for the last decade. As we have discussed, I like things to be a certain way. Everyone, I'm sure, listens realizes this at this point, that I am particular about certain things, like the color of my lines. And despite having said move from the yellow line to the next yellow line, do the 10-yard dash to the yellow line, like 10 times while explaining it to everyone that was not me, when it came my turn to do it, yes, I did the 10-yard dash, went, huh, that's weird. I'm not at the pink line yet. Better keep going.
as one does.
Stop.
But But did you die?
Well, we weren't the ones ahead of the firing line, so no, we were fine.
And was I in anyone's arcs of fire?
I don't
Well,
know.
certain
No,
people, you never know.
it was reasonably safe, and we were
Yeah.
immediately corrected by the range safety officer to not do that.
But if Chris
But
wasn't such a problem and laid out the lines properly to begin with.
I mean, Chris is also the one that saved me from doing anything more egregious than that, because he was acting as the range safety officer at the time. So I am placing the blame squarely on Chris's very broad shoulders.
So what you're saying, he was both the cause and the solution to the problem.
Yes, Chris decided that he would not only be the problem, he would be the whole problem.
Yes. He did not half-ass it. He whole-assed it.
He whole-assed it. I don't know if that actually defends my position or not, but I'm going with that.
Yeah.
I have no excuse for the two-handed shooting piece. That was just mental error on my part.
Hey, you just experienced it differently. That's fine.
2 lines.
2 lines. Next line, 10-yard dash. I should know better, and I made an error, and no one, including myself, was injured, although my pride is slightly wounded.
Although
You're-
I'm sure that was only momentary,
I was gonna say, you're
until you
probably
tabulated the results.
Yes. I saw the
Speaking of-
results, and yeah.
Shall we discuss the results of the matches? So the CQC day is 3 events. We do 100-meter rifle marksmanship, we do CQC close quarters competition, and we do service pistol, a variation of the DCRA national championship service pistol. We've modified it slightly to suit our range and targetry, because we're not in Connaught range. I feel like I did okay on rifle marksmanship. I don't feel like I did good. I don't feel like I did bad. I also am like right in the middle of the pack. So, all right. Eric, where did you choke on rifle marksmanship?
Oh, I choked huge.
Yes, but where? What was it that did you in?
Not loading my magazines, not engaging them fully. So when I went pulley, it went drop out, not bang bang. So yes, that a lack of practice, I will say. However, I'm going to treat all my CQC matches as golf.
Lowest
That
score
I am
wins.
only competing against myself, and I'm getting better than I was last time. So
Well, and that is a very positive way to look at it. If you were doing it any other way, I would probably have not unkind things to say, but I think that this is the correct approach to have. This is because it is the same course of fire every time we do it. You can play with your gear and equipment, and you can see if you're improving or not, or if the changes you're making to your gear makes a difference. Is it really? It is highly repeatable like that.
well, on that note, my pistol is a Glock 17, and which is interesting and I have iron sights. But this year I have an Olight on the bottom of it, I guess under the pick rail at the front. And I asked Dave and Andrew about it, and they said, well, you may or may not notice a difference depending on how much you pay attention as far as the extra weight preventing the recoil, I guess, the kicking, the firing kicking.
The felt recoil, the perceived recoil with the sights moving.
And it did make a difference. I was able to successfully execute the Mozambique drill twice, which I have never done twice in a match before. So
now, is that because you were getting better, or because the sights just did not move as much with the extra weight of the flashlight?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I've done both. And the other thing on the back of the Glock sight, which is just the factory sight, the
blacked them out.
Blocked it out, yeah.
Yeah.
So only the one. But what I did notice, and I was watching Brian shooting, because being a lefty, I could see his off eye as I was being safety guy. And you've mentioned to me as well as with learning to shoot with both eyes open. And because I shoot with one eye, and so I was shooting 2 targets, and I would be okay, and then I'd try it with both eyes open, and my shots were way over here, so I still have to figure that part out.
It takes a little getting used to.
I found it easier with the red dot because I did try it with the rifle with the red dot, but with the iron sights, it was. I don't know that I
Yeah.
can. I guess it's just practice, but
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I'm the same. Like, so with a rifle and iron sights, I kind of have to close my non-dominant eye because it's too, my brain won't do the thing. And same if I'm using like a magnified optic. But if I'm running a red dot and it's just me looking and there's the red dot, then yeah, both eyes open, no problem. And pistol is not a problem for me, irons or red dot, because it's out in front of my face.
right.
Whereas like the rifle red dot is sort of, it's closer to your eye. So that's kind of what throws me off. So when it's iron sights on a rifle, it's just like my brain won't
Hmm.
do the thing. It wants to focus on the thing that's close to my one eye, and yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you've said
That
that.
makes it tough.
Yeah.
You said that you can't focus on the two things at once, but I guess with the red dot being close to your eye,
No. So this is the two things at once thing. So with the red dot, you really should be focusing at the target.
Yeah.
So the red dot is just superimposed over the correct image, and your brain
That-
is not doing the weird two picture thing.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I was kind of trying to get at.
Yeah.
was
So the red
the
dot
iron
is
sight-
easier, but with the
The iron
iron
sights-
having a physical thing here,
right.
like on a rifle, it's my eye gets drawn to it. And like it's the same with like the Glock. So on my Glock, I had to black out the rear sight as well because it's like my eye wants to look at the white lines because they're right there and they stand out.
Yeah, I found that really distracting. So and then this is actually I did it at the end of last year.
Yeah.
What's that?
Just
sights?
I'm just complaining about Glock sights. The factory Glock sights are. Some people might say they're not very good. Other people might say they're terrible.
Yeah.
Well, the blacking out made a big difference with just the white, and I found that the extra weight on the front,
Yeah.
maybe it's just
For sure.
and then being the first match of the year. Now more consistently, I'll know.
Well, shall we talk a little bit about CQC and the service special components of that? Would you care to remind me how I placed in those?
Above Brian with a
don't
Y.
remember.
Above Brian with a Y.
And that's all that matters.
No. Executing perfect shots on every exposure is what matters. But beating Brian with a Y, formerly of Modern Rifleman Radio, that Brian with a Y, he used to have a podcast.
Yeah. He was on this one every now and again too.
He has joined us in the past.
Yeah.
Beating Brian with a Y is always good for my ego.
Yeah.
So CQC shot a 456. I think highest possible is 550. So not the highest score I've ever had, but I feel like it was pretty good for not having done this all winter and most of last year.
Yeah, I don't think you shot a single match last year.
I don't think I did either.
You did.
And then service pistol, I think is the highest possible. I want to say of 700, and I shot a 633. I'd have to go and actually like figure out what the highest possible is because I don't know off the top of my head, but I want to say service pistol is about 700. So I am quite
I
happy
look
with
at
how
this
things
as
went.
I look at this as an opportunity for much improvement. Then
Yes. And we also had people that shot both strictly using pistol caliber carbines because they don't have handguns. And that also worked out quite well, I thought.
yeah.
No, that'd actually be kind of fun to do a service pistol match.
I was very tempted to shoot because I didn't feel like I was having a great day, and obviously being responsible for the range, although I had other people to help RSO and switch out with, just doing the stuff to be able to run the range and do all the match administration myself. Although other people helped. Eric did some paperwork for me. Chris pitched in with RSO. Dave pitched in with RSO. It just it was a lot, and I didn't feel like I was having a great day. So I considered shooting service pistol with my carbine just for funsies.
But pitching in like that is kind of like a fire and forget. Here's a task, do it. Okay, I'm done. Well, when you're responsible. You're still thinking of the whole thing the whole time. So I got to give you credit for that. That was probably wasn't easy. So
It's a lot of cognitive load. And in the YouTube comments, Dave would like to point out that he came second in CQC, which he did. So, round of applause for Dave. I beat him by 7
thank
points.
you, thank Dave.
Yes, thanks, Dave. Yeah, it was good times. Sunday, Dave and I shot another event with the Ontario Rifle Association. Dave runs our precision rifle program, and Dave is also my sniper partner. So we shoot as a pair for that. It's a team sport. We did very well. I have to go back and look, but it might be the best match that I have shot. I did not drop a single round. Each shot that we fire out of our 50 or so rounds is worth 5 points. I guess it's 40 for score, but sighters and stuff. So of our 40 shots that we shoot, highest possible score is 200. Each round is worth 5 points. I shot a 181, I think 171. I shot a 181, and Dave shot a 192, which like phenomenally good. There were two people that shot 195s.
Wow.
So the field is getting tight at precision rifle in Ontario.
I mean, that's the nice thing about shooting with other people that are skilled is that it brings everybody up.
Yes.
So you're shooting 308s, right?
I shoot a 308. Dave shoots a 6.5.
Right.
We do well there. The closer matches, I don't know that it makes a huge deal of difference. The wind calls on the 6.5 are a little bit better, a little bit easier. But inside of 500 yards, I'm not sure that it makes a difference. But the deliberates, when we get back to the 700-800 yards, it matters. And the wind was super weird on Sunday. We were having no mirage, and the flags were basically showing no wind, but the rounds were impacting inconsistently. So it was a very tricky wind condition because we couldn't see what was going on. We were just seeing effects on rounds. But fortunately, Dave's very good shooting and my reasonably good shooting. Dave and I took first place team. Total score of 737. 373. We'll get the numbers in the right order there in a minute. 373 out of a possible 400, which puts us in first place by a not very large margin. Chris of putting the strings in the wrong order fame, that Chris was on the second place team shooting with another friend of ours.
I love in the YouTube comments how he's changed his name, actually.
Oh, has he? I thought he was still the problem.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
He's changed it to the problem.
Oh, he's been
Yeah.
the problem for a while.
But yeah, he
But we
certainly
like him
has.
anyway.
Yes.
He's now embracing it, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, you just lean into these sort of things, right? That's
Yeah.
so it was very, very solid weekend. The Sunday matches with the precision rifle, phenomenally good. 200, 400, 500, and 700 yard matches. So save the hostage, movers, a snap match with targets of two different sizes. I don't remember the name of the 500-yard match, but they use two different targets that both appear for a few seconds, a figure 11 and a figure 12. So it's a tall guy, like a 30-something, 36-inch tall target, and just a guy that's head and shoulders. So it's two different sight pictures, two different aim points, but they're only up for, I want to say it's like 5 seconds at a time. 3. Oh, it's 3? Dave's yelling at me. It's 3. 3 seconds at a time. Dave should be on the podcast, but it's hockey playoffs.
Yeah, I heard the Leafs lost. So what's he doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So targets are up for 3 seconds, and then we do the deliberates at 700. So the target comes up on a 4-foot frame, and you have to shoot the 4-foot frame. But if you only shoot the frame, you only get 3 points. So you got to do better than that.
I believe the problem here is trying to do a not so humble brag. Something about the rifle marksmanship match and who won by a huge margin. I'm assuming that was Chris.
I would not know, but I could probably find out. I wasn't.
Yeah. I'm assuming it's Chris, which is why he's bringing it up.
Yeah, I do believe that it
If
is
I had to
Chris's.
guess,
I do believe that is Chris's call sign.
yeah.
Which is a huge margin. If Chris shot a 490 and 4 V-Bulls, the next best score is a 428. Again, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the highest possible score is, but I believe it's a 500.
But Chris also is a scorekeeper and does all the stats, so
It's
saying.
true. Chris is
Yeah.
also doing all of the stats.
It's a little suspect, yeah.
But once again, the important thing is beating Brian with a Y.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've certainly beating him on the whole podcast thing because he doesn't even do that anymore.
It's true. He doesn't.
He's too busy riding mountain bikes.
Could be worse. Could be a road bike.
Yeah, or RC cars.
Shots fired.
Hey,
That all being said, I do have a new goal for CQC.
Oh, what's that, Eric?
My new goal is I need to reface my target because all my groups are so small I can't tell where my holes are again. I heard both you guys doing that, and I went, "Would you just fuck off?"
So once again, if it pleases the crown, in my defense, Brian with a Y suggested that we.
It's a good idea. I want to be
Yeah.
able to do that.
yeah. I mean, if you pound Mad V-Bulls, like,
You do need to shoot a lot of V-Bulls, but if you shoot the center out, it does get to be really hard. Is that a double, or did I just is the patch
Yeah.
just blown off?
Well, that was the discussion I had to suffer with, put up with, listen to, was part of, and I'm thinking, oh man, I wish I could. That's where I want to be. So practice.
Practice. Lots and lots of practice.
Yeah, I'm about
For
probably 90
reasons
to
that,
100,000 rounds behind. So
well, but you can get there because it
Yeah.
is just practice. And the good news is it's gun stuff. So dry fire is a thing. You have your firearms. You can dry fire them as much as you want.
yeah. Well, I'm going to use the practice as a segue here and talk about other things that the military has been practicing.
Is it sucking at shooting?
No. They don't have the money for that.
Oh,
Instead, this past weekend, the military exercised some stuff. What was the where's my notes here?
Oh,
There's
you're looking for the exercise name?
Yeah,
It's Trillium Venture.
yes, Trillium Venture. That's the one. That is yeah. So the army mobilized like an entire battle group here. Yeah.
So they converted parts of 31, 32, and 33 Canadian brigade groups into 31 battle group.
Yep. Or 31 Brigade Group is what the Major Paul Pickering, whose name is attached to this PowerPoint that we have. Excellent PowerPoint, by the way, if you listen to the show.
Yeah, good job, Paul. I mean, Major Paul.
Yes.
Major Tom.
This is ground control.
This is ground control. Make sure you conduct your radio checks at the bottom of the hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is field bot. One of the fields below range control.
Yeah, this was
That's pretty much what happened on the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was a massive exercise, FTX as they say, for the guys. Like this took place over a fairly substantial area.
Well, and I think the reason that it came to our attention originally was Goderich put out a press release, like the town of Goderich, Ontario's prettiest little town.
Yeah.
The town of Goderich put out a press release saying, like, be aware the military is conducting exercises, and as part of that, in Huron and Bruce counties on the weekend of May the 3rd, Goderich residents may notice an increased presence of the military in their town, and they may be conducting wellness checks or quote unquote door knocks on Saturday, May the 4th.
Had some people a little nervous.
Which, I mean, I can understand to a point.
I mean, because normally when we use the word wellness check, it doesn't end well.
No, but as we have established, the military doesn't have a budget for ammunition right now, so
Hmm.
all they can do is ask us questions.
They were
Yes, they
dry
do.
wellness checks.
They have the budget for ammunition. They just don't give it to our guys.
That's true. They send it all to the
That's
Ukraine.
right. Well,
Yeah.
if you don't Slava Ukraine, who can you Slava?
Well, they're slobbing on something. Um, but yeah, this is quite the exercise, or the
Yeah.
domestic response exercise, which is I mean, an accurate but terrible, terrible way to phrase that for marketing purposes for civilians.
Where do we want to start with this? Do we want to start with the internet's response to it?
Sure.
Okay. What did the internet have to say, Gavin?
They were all really terrified. So everyone was like, why is the army doing wellness checks? This is crazy. And then there was some reports of, and I couldn't find good evidence one way or the other, really, about this, but they were worried that the army was going and doing a sort of a census of some sorts.
Yeah, can
And
we
so,
talk about the alleged questions that may or may not have been being asked?
yeah, so there were reports of them going around and asking, like, do you own the house? You know, how many people live here? How old are the people that live here? And things sort of that nature.
See, I heard there was a couple of more questions. And again, like it's social media, so I don't know
Yeah.
how believable it is, but like people were being asked how much food they had in their homes. You mentioned whether or not they owned their homes
Yes.
here. Yeah. So there was, if that's going on, it's kind of questionable. But also, the internet was leading to believe that a reputable lawyer in London was telling people that if you don't answer your door, you don't have to talk to them.
You know, if I don't answer my door, I don't have to talk to anyone.
That is exactly where I was going with that. I'm like, wow, this unnamed reputable lawyer sounds like a thing that totally, definitely, really happened in real life and not made up at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you were under no legal, like,
When people
obligation
knock
to,
on your door, if they don't have a warrant, you don't need to speak to them.
yeah. And even then, if they have a warrant, you don't need to speak to them. You might need to allow them access to your home, but you don't need to speak to them.
I would, in fact, think that if they had a warrant, it would be better if you didn't.
Yes, that would be the good lawyer advice. Not that we are giving legal advice,
No,
but
but if I knew a good lawyer, that might be a thing they would have
yeah,
advised me in the past.
yeah, especially when they
Also,
have a warrant. Yeah.
completely unrelated, just make sure all of your legal firearms are stored in accordance with all of the various laws and regulations
Yes.
in our country.
Yeah. Just
Just saying.
yeah.
Yes. Hello, this is the army. Are you there? Hello, are those level 4 plates?
Yeah. Yeah, you are under no obligation. And that's what like a bunch of people were saying, like, you don't have to talk to them. I'm like,
Correct. You do not need to talk to people. That is,
yeah, like just I'm sure they didn't want to be there either. If I know anything about it, they really didn't want to be there. Going around knocking on doors and feeling like Jehovah's Witnesses, like they getting doors slammed in their face. Like does not sound like a good time.
But
yeah, I
most
don't
people,
know.
when the doors get knocked on, will open it. So then you're kind of, I think I don't know, when you open the door, if you, especially if you can't see outside and the army is there, you're just adding a level of
Oh
anxiety to
yeah.
people that's not
No, no.
required because there haven't been many recent events that have caused undue anxiety with people that I can recall. Oh, wait, the last 4.5 years. But anyway,
Well, yeah, aside from tyrannical lockdowns.
I mean,
What-
so
one of
the
the
sort of
articles did-
exercises. Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say one of the articles as I was reading it was mentioned the fact that there was a theory, or it had mentioned the fact that this is a way to try to normalize, air quotes, the military and the government involvement into normal people's lives for reasons, which is not something we want to go down the road. I don't know. It was something I read that kind of stuck in my mind. It's like, yeah, like go away. I don't want you to come to my house.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's
the military conducts a lot of exercise. Various levels of the military conduct a lot of exercises throughout the year as part of their training, especially with the reserves, which most of 31 Canadian Brigade Group is reserves, right?
Yeah.
Um, all most no most. Um, Training is important. Our military was probably still is well trained, although it is not well funded or supported.
Yeah.
And we do have a habit of deploying it in domestic operations, um, ice storms, power outages, floods. So doing the training thing does make sense. And Trillium Venture is actually pretty well documented on what they were trying to accomplish. So they've got a little
Yeah.
scenario and they're planning for 2 weeks worth of temperatures above 40 degrees and severe storms and possible water shortages. And if that's not enough, they have the option to add wildland fires to further escalate the scenario.
Yeah.
So, as a training exercise, a bunch of that stuff is good because the Army has chainsaws and appropriate personal protective equipment. They have the bright orange chaps that they can wear.
Yeah.
And the Army has trucks and knows how to move water around and can do that. And they have a bunch of people that are in reasonably good shape that can lift heavy cases of water and make sandbags and have little dinghies that they can boat around in, raft around in, right? So doing all of these things is all stuff that I can see as a domestic operation as a reasonable set of skills for them to practice, right? Like we have Navy Reserve guys that have little what are the little dinghies called? Zodiacs?
Yeah. Or a rib
Right.
boat, if you want to get technical about it.
Right. So they've got their little inflatable pontoon boats and they can, yeah, okay, if they need to go around, it makes sense that they're going to practice using things. If
Yeah.
they're setting up cooling stations, well, I can only imagine that's a mod tent with a mister and a fan in it.
Yeah, I
mean like
can't be
like
anything
I don't
too
mean like a mister and a
sophisticated.
missus. I mean like a thing that blows like water vapor at
Yeah.
you, right? Um,
Are you allowed to call them misters?
well, if you don't
Well, if they
misgender them, I'm sure it's
identified it,
fine.
yeah.
Otherwise, they're misses
Yeah. Well,
or
that's when the water
zers.
doesn't hit you. It's a misses.
It's a misses. It's good. That's very good. Well done. So I mean, doing the exercise and having the training opportunity to conduct a brigade level exercise, I think is a good thing. And doing a bunch of these skills things, they're going to run convoys. The truck drivers are going to do truck driver things,
Yeah, this would count as their 10 minutes of practicing a skill.
right? So I don't have any objection to that, and I don't even have that big of an objection to them learning how to knock on doors and interact with the public because it is a weird thing.
Yeah, so long as what they like were doing was in line with the exercise and the questions were in line with the scenario of the exercise and
Yes.
not like gathering intel for other nefarious reasons. Not that I'm saying they are, but that was what was supposed on the internet.
Well, and that's a level of conspiracy I don't believe that our military is capable of. Like
Yeah,
you involve an entire brigade group, you involve like over 200 people in this. There,
it's a lot
I
of
don't feel
people.
like they're going around conducting a census of who owns their house and who has
Yeah,
whatever grandma living with them and who has food in their basement. I don't, not to
yeah.
say they couldn't do that. I just feel like county records offices are probably a lot more of a reasonable thing to figure out who owns the land in your neighborhood rather than having the military go around with a clipboard.
Yeah, there's somewhere that they could use a computer to gather that information and do it much faster. But yeah, especially when you're talking about an area that was what Goderich, Mildmay, Wyerton, Wingham, and Lions Head.
Oh, it was, and
No,
it went on beyond
yeah,
that.
but
Like as
those are
far
like
as
the yeah,
there was stuff going on in North Bay and Mattamy as well.
yeah. But those are the ones listed on this PowerPoint, anyways, or at least that I could see. I don't have the whole thing on here, but like,
Is so pardon my ignorance on this, but is there a base out that way that like where would these troops have come from? I live reasonably near to CFB Borden, and it would seem like you would have heard of that around here, and there was nothing. Although it's a
So
training
they
base, it's a training base, so maybe they wouldn't do that kind of exercise if they were reg force. But in Goderich area, is there a base that's, or was this a nationwide thing? I haven't
So
seen that.
this involved units from all over from all over Ontario, really. They brought in
Yeah.
assets from as far away as Kingston.
Well,
So-
why just pick on Godrich just because it's an area to
Well, I
move
think they were
to
the ones
practice the
that.
moving and the whole thing, or
Well, and
Yes.
that's the
I
thing
don't know.
is that it's not even that it was just Goderich. It was they're those seem to be the ones that were the most vocal about getting the news out to people, or at least that's the one
Okay.
that went viral. But I
Well,
mean,
so
it looks like it was.
I think that's part of the division of what they were doing in different areas. So in Godrich is where they were the primary task of the the primary task of the unit that was in Godrich, which
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Oh,
if it was Grand
Tobermory,
Simcoe
Bracebridge. Okay.
Yeah.
Foresters or if it was one of the other. Was it Grand Simcoe or was it the
ERCA. Let me look at this PowerPoint and see who that is.
well
Yeah.
it, the primary tasking there being doing the wellness checks, whereas in like Mildmay and Walkerton, they were doing fire training. Wellness checks were a secondary task. Whereas in Wyerton and Sauble Beach, they were doing ATV searches and tree clearance.
Yeah.
So like different areas had different tasks assigned to the troops in those areas.
Yeah, and
And
they
is
were
it-
working with other agencies as well, because looking at Mildmay and Walkerton, while the secondary task
Yeah,
for some
well,
of
and that
this
was
was
again,
wellness
that
checks,
was
it was done by the OPP detachment.
and that was again, that's part of the
Yeah.
point of the exercise was they were trying to do integration with other civilian partner agencies to what they call enhance mutual understanding, which just means being able to work together.
Yes, which if they have taken their, incident command systems 100 level and higher, they would have learned how to do that because then they're all speaking the same language.
Yes, but going through
Yeah.
the process and doing it together.
It's good to
and
practice.
It's good to practice. And I think that's the same thing. Like we were talking pre-show about like setting up cooling tents in the beginning of May. Probably not a thing that they need to do, but if the scenario was supposed to be that temperatures were over 40 degrees for several days out of a 2-week period, practicing setting up the cooling shelters is a thing to do because how often do you bust out the cooling shelters? Which again, I'm sure it's a mod tent and a fan with a mister on it.
Yeah.
But
And it may even be lower budget than that. It might just be a tent and a guy with a garden hose putting his thumb over it and splashing people.
entirely possible. Yeah, I think this was a lot about nothing. And it's good that the reserve troops, or the Reg Force troops for that matter, it's good that they get the training.
Yeah, but
Especially
also
when-
to answer Eric's question about like where did they come from aside from that. So like if it's a reserve group, it might just be coming out of the local armory, which a lot of these small towns will have.
And
Yeah, I was kind of looking at that there, and I can see now they did come from other areas. Like
Yeah.
Borden went up to Bracebridge, so there's probably some practice. You mentioned convoying and logistically, which makes sense, I
Yeah.
guess, because you're never going to fight right at your base. You always got to move everything
Yeah.
from place A to place B to do the thing, and then get it all back again. So
Yeah. Yeah,
similar
there's
to CQB.
different reservist groups that are all over. Like, I mean, I know out in where am I thinking? Tilsonburgish areas, like an artillery group that's a reservist unit that's out there. So like you'll have different little groups everywhere, right?
Yeah,
I mean-
I guess that makes sense.
I mean,
and-
most towns in southern Ontario have some kind of reserves, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to drive far to find a reserve group. Everywhere along the 401 has
Yeah.
them, and then you get them all up around.
Well, yeah,
Um,
if you have an armory in your town, there is a reservist unit basically.
And there's a whole bunch of them in Toronto. There's a deceptive amount in Toronto.
Well, and so that's what I was going to say is so when I was up at the base a couple weekends ago, all of the sort of spring training stuff is going on so that everyone can get it out of the way, especially for the reservist groups, so that it doesn't interfere with their summer holidays. And so this is like training season, especially for the reservists. So like the base was packed for all of them to go and do their, mandatory yearly firearms qualifications. So they were all out on the range shooting.
which again, I'm okay with. I think that's a good thing. The
Yeah.
reserves need to have the training opportunity to do that, and domestic operations is a thing we have employed them in. I don't think it's as scary as some people on the internet made it out to be, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we interact with the military community more than your average person.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you just hear wellness checks and that's all you get, it certainly sounds weird. When
Orwellian.
you, yeah, when you look at this PowerPoint that was prepared that explains everything quite nicely, actually, in very few slides, but there is a ton of information. It really
Well,
better explains, and they really should have sent this out instead of just the poster of the guy with the like chainsaw and the chaps and like people moving some like tree limbs. Like,
but I mean, as we've discussed off
yeah,
air, Department of National Defense does have their own graphics art team, and without them, who would make posters to tell you to not smoke and touch your peers
it's true.
or any of your other parts?
Yeah.
I will drop a link to the PowerPoint slide from Major Paul there in the show notes so people can scroll through the 11 pages of PowerPoint if they would like to see it for themselves.
Yeah. If you're
I would
interested in how military organizes a domestic response exercise for reasons.
Well, and I feel like even if you were not, there's a lot of interesting information in here, like all of the different reserve formations in 31 Canadian Brigade
Yeah.
Group. So all of, I'm going to call it Southern Ontario, but I realize that's not technically true because it includes Aurelia, but not Toronto, but like
Southwestern-ish and
South,
others.
Southern,
Yeah.
mostly Ontario. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to see where all of the reserve groups are based out of and what their response times for major catastrophic events look like, or where they provide their second line support from, whether that's out of Area Support Unit London or CFB Borden or CFB Petawawa, or if you wanted to see how they draw certain formations on the map, if you wanted to see what like a battalion group headquarters looks like, it's a two sticks and an X if you're curious.
Yeah.
Or what combat engineers look like with your lazy E. So it's a sidewise E, right? It's
Yeah.
the lazy E.
Yeah. If you wanted
If you wanted to see
document
what
things, yeah.
those would look like when they draw them on a map, which it's a very good drawing on the map of where the different units are and what the symbols mean and how to read it all. It's very informative if you wanted to know how the military is planning on conducting domestic operations in the future
For reasons.
Yeah.
for reasons.
For study. Military studies are important. And if you could somehow explain to me how they numbered the different divisions, that would also be helpful because it don't make no sense.
I'm telling you, you start in Toronto. I'm sorry, you start in Ottawa, and then you go clockwise in ever expanding circles.
Yeah, but like you go Toronto, Quebec.
Ottawa,
Well, yeah,
Canadian
sorry.
Division headquarters.
Yeah,
then,
yeah. So
then you
Ottawa.
go clockwise. So what's next? What's
Quebec.
clockwise from Ottawa? Quebec.
Yeah, but then like you jump all the way to the west and then back to Ontario.
Because
Like
you're going around in ever increasing circles.
yeah, but like it increases and then it decreases. That's
No.
it's, anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the
It
actual
makes no
reasoning
sense.
for how they did that.
Yeah, just yeah. I mean, I guess Ottawa being one makes sense, but then you think they would have gone across the country one way or the other. But I don't know.
I missed when they called them land force areas because that was easy for me to understand, and I guess that's showing my age because land
Well,
force
yeah.
central area was so much easier. Land force east, land force west, land force central, like
That makes
was
sense.
very clear.
Yeah. Well,
But then we brought back the division numbering. Maybe if you're looking into the division numbering, you can tell me why we color coded them the way that we did.
yeah.
Why is Western
you have
Canada
answers.
gray and Eastern Canada red?
And why is it just a Velcro rectangle of that color that they put on their uniform?
Why is that? That's a great question.
It's like a flag-sized rectangle of just solid color.
Of their division.
Yeah.
Good times. So it turns out the military is not taking over Godrich. They visited, they knocked on some doors, they ate some
They
memories,
left.
and they left.
Yeah, they saw a few sunsets. Yeah.
What more can you ask for, really?
Well, I mean, a lot, but I'll take
From
it.
the military, from our
Yeah, no,
military.
then nothing, because they haven't even renewed their printing contract.
You're asking for more than we can give.
And certainly don't ask them for any more sandbags because they are not providing them.
Shall we talk about our wacko PM?
Yeah, I mean, that's a thing that happened the last week here.
Would you like to expand on what happened? Who called him a wacko and why?
So, well, it's not even that he called the JT was called a wacko, although he is, and I would say stronger things, but I don't want to get kicked out of Parliament. But Pierre Poilievre was speaking, and so I know we've talked about it before, but the like legalization of hard drugs in BC is a pilot program to reduce harm or something, which is now in turn just like turned into a free for all, and people are dying left, right, and center. And to the point where like BC has asked, like, hey, so I know we asked to do this pilot program, but could we maybe cancel this pilot program? And the Liberal Party, federal Liberal Party, is like dragging their feet on recriminalizing the use of hard drugs. And so here Poilievre gets up in Parliament and says that, this policy is wacko. He was then asked to rephrase that, and then I believe he called it extremist. And then he was asked to rephrase it or withdraw it, and he called it radical. And then was once again asked to, rephrase or withdraw his comment. And he went back and said that it was wacko, at which point then the speaker ejected him from Parliament.
He did actually say this wacko policy by our wacko prime minister.
Fair.
So he did
He
actually
did, I guess, call him, yes.
directly insult him, which resulted
Yes,
in repercussions.
he was
as
ejected for
opposed to calling us
unparliamentary
misogynists.
language. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's okay for the prime minister to call us names and get away with it, but
Well,
when he
and
gets
so
called names-
Well,
that's
we're not in the House.
that's the thing, is that in the House, I mean, aside from that time that like Trudeau did call another politician a piece of shit many years ago, we're not talking about that.
Well, he was an MP then, not the PM, so
Yeah.
it's different. It's the
Yeah.
total opposite.
Yeah.
literally.
But now he did call out Pierre Poilievre as a racist and a right-wing conspiracy theorist, because he did go and happen to like be caught on video talking to people at a anti-carbon tax rally where they had the Diagolon logo on their door or something like that. And he has not come out and denounced their support for him, which I'm not even sure that they have ever publicly come out and said that they support him. He just happened to go and talk to people that happened to have this logo, and someone else posted it on the internet. But anyways, it's okay to call him spineless for not denouncing that, and that's a direct attack at him and his character and all those things, which to me would be unparliamentary language, right? You're not supposed to say that kind of stuff. But yeah, Trudeau didn't get in trouble for that, but Pierre Poilievre got in trouble for saying
Wow.
that
The Speaker of the House is applying different rules to different political parties. That is
well,
a
yeah.
shocking turn of events.
Well, interestingly enough, right? So this started a whole thing. That same day, Rachel Thomas, another conservative MP, also got kicked out of the House for unparliamentary language, where she called out the chair for having disreputable behavior or something like that. And then she was asked to withdraw her comment, which she did using the correct language and everything, right, that is spelled out. But I guess there was so much commotion that the speaker, Mr. Ferguson here, or Fergus, didn't hear her withdraw the comment and ejected her from Parliament as well. To the point where there's some legal documents and records and stuff like that that get published every day that have to relate to like the transcripts from the House and all of the things that are said by all of the politicians. And she has some big speech. It's in the notes here where they talk about all of this and explain it all in much more detail than I will. But they are allowed to make minor changes to things to better explain things, but they can't change them in a way that changes the meaning of what it is that the politician said. And in those documents, her withdrawing is listed on one thing. So it was actually someone heard it and recorded it, but on another set, they were not.
Oh
And she's
wow, it's
like,
almost like there was a big room full of people yelling.
I mean, yes, but like, so she made a big deal about this and how it's like, look, you kicked me out. I clearly withdrew it to the point where, like, I have proof that I withdrew it because these people heard it on the official transcripts, but on the things that are published after the fact that are like allowed to be altered, but not to the point where they like change context, they are not there, which means that somebody made an edit and made a massive edit that changes the context of things because, me withdrawing a comment versus me not withdrawing it and getting kicked out for it is a huge thing. So she's all pissed off about all of that, which has now led.
That was before the Polyev thing, was it not? The same, but it was the same day.
Same
if I
day,
recall.
but it was like immediately before all of that, and then she got kicked or he got kicked out. And so as a result of both of those things, the conservatives have asked the speaker to step down because he is not being impartial, which despite the fact that he is from the Liberal Party and has been a Liberal Party member and MP and all of those things, he is supposed to be impartial as the speaker.
The Bloc also asked him to step down.
Yes. Obviously, he
Well,
is not stepping down.
I'm sure the Liberal Party will investigate and
Yeah.
find there was no wrongdoing.
Yeah.
Hey, was he the same? Was he the speaker when they had the Ukrainian Nazi?
No,
that was a different speaker.
That speaker stepped down because he invited the Nazi to parliament, which was not that long ago.
Well, that's why I wondered if it was a different speaker, or if it was
This
still the
speaker's
same.
the one who got photographed, if I remember. Was he the one that was, or was it the provincial one, photographed in his robes and doing things he shouldn't have been officially?
Well, so,
or was that the provincial one?
This MP or this speaker, despite the fact that he has not been in power for very long, like a couple of months, maybe a few more than a couple of months. So like December 5th is the other article I've attached, which is obviously older because that's, a few months ago. But that was the first time that people questioned his impartiality because he appeared in like a TV thing, sort of speaking a very pro-liberal in all of the things where he's not supposed to do that because as a speaker he's supposed to be impartial, but here he is appearing and he's the speaker and he's not being, impartial, and he's picking one party over another. So that was like the first time that he got called out, and that was like almost immediately after he assumed the role as speaker, and now a few months later, he is also getting called out again for not being particularly impartial.
Wow, it's almost like we don't live in a real country with a real government.
Yeah, it is a little wacko. I'm not gonna lie.
I would point out one thing, that if I were speaker, when we ejected a politician from parliament, it would be with a great deal of velocity
from the Peace Tower.
Yes, I would be. It's like if it were up to me, if we were going to eject parliamentarians from parliament, we would do it with like a cannon and a great deal of velocity,
or a giant boot,
or a helicopter with gravity working.
I wonder, there's 334 members in parliament. How much do you suppose it would cost to install 334 ejector seats?
I mean,
how many CF-18s do we have that we aren't flying that I can borrow the ejector seats from?
Or how many have we already paid for that we haven't received yet that we could just get a second ejector seat?
That's what I'm wondering. I feel like there's a way to make this much better. I just need to become speaker.
Yeah. Well, exactly, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure I know you've said it before, but like if the speaker was allowed to use the mace to smash politicians.
The sergeant at arms.
Or yes. But under the direction of the speaker.
Yes, the sergeant at arms
Yeah.
works for the
He
speaker of
points the
House.
weapon, and the other one uses it.
Yes.
Yeah, that would
I mean,
also work.
Macing a
Coming
politician.
from me though, I would vote for the speaker at arms or the sergeant at arms mace to be Thor's hammer, so he could throw it and come right back to him. So
That would
Yeah.
that would be convenient. I would also accept just like pepper spray style mace. That would also work for me.
Yeah,
Just macing a politician would work out in both cases.
yeah, yeah.
All right, let's
at the end of the day, it's embarrassing. Like
it is.
it's
It's
ridiculously embarrassing and humiliating as a Canadian that these morons are running our country.
I mean, I get the whole like parliamentary language thing because it's supposed to be official, and like we don't want like,
Well,
these.
there's a difference between calling the prime minister's policy wacko
Yeah.
and calling the prime minister an asshole, and like there's a
Yeah,
But
there's a level of professionalism there.
But
Yeah.
all of it is holding my breath till I'm taking my ball and going home, and my dad can beat up your dad, and yeah. There's no real discourse going on from these people.
yeah, but I don't think that Trudeau Senior could have beat up that many people. Like, I mean, he didn't even look that good in a turtleneck. He certainly wouldn't be winning any flex offs. That's for sure.
Aristotle. That's what we need to bring back.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think more people should settle debates by flexing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I second the motion.
Excellent.
Flexing right before you throw them out of the peace tower.
At high velocity.
Yeah, you got to stretch, right? You don't want to get an injury.
If you're gonna, well, I don't know. Sometimes you just wake up and decide to be awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Who wants to
Daily
go for a long
occurrence.
walk? Who
Yeah.
wants to sit on the side of the road
Yeah.
during their long walk?
yeah. I mean, does a lion stretch before it takes down a gazelle?
Yes.
Yeah, it probably should if it doesn't. Yeah.
You ever see a lion wake up? It's just like a house cat, but bigger. It does the big stretch thing.
It's true.
All right. Rounding out the show. If you want to interact with the panel, you could probably do that on Guilded. I don't know. I haven't been on there in a while. It's like the back catalog. You should just be thankful that I introduced Eric as our new panelist. In case you
Yeah.
didn't know, Eric's new. Surprise.
Yeah.
Um,
Long time listener, new-ish panelist.
Yeah, second time. He
Yeah.
liked it so much he came back.
Yeah.
If you want to,
Once you
Wow.
podcast, you never go back.
yes, yes. If you've listened to the show this long, you deserve a discount code. If you're shopping at Ragnarok Tactical, use discount code Patriot at checkout. Save yourself 10%. Literally take money out of my child's college fund. If you want to send us your feedback, you should drop an email, feedback@canadianpatriotpodcast.com. Let us know what you think. If you'd like to provide in-person feedback, like Chris did, at an ORA event, I can assure you that I will listen. That is
But
all
not
of the
well.
things that I can assure you. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaka. Couldn't get Rod on the... Oh, we're out of order. Other people didn't put their things in. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram, UrbexGTA.
Eric, is there anything you would like to plug or share about your internet persona?
No, last time I did that, I got in trouble from various family relatives. So if you can find me, I'll acknowledge you, but good luck.
Perfect. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaka. We can't get him onto the show. He is also in trouble with various family relatives.
Yeah. Yeah.
For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you're a small fringe minority with unacceptable views.
And terrible parliamentary language.
Wackos.